Morning, everyone. Just getting everything rolling here. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, cool. So letting everybody into the meeting here. While we get things rolling, anybody have any wins? Anything you guys want to share with the group? And just so you guys know, I decided I'm gonna start recording these meetings again. We hadn't done it for a while, but I think that it's valuable for people to have out there. So but if you ever want to talk about anything that's like, proprietary or you don't want everybody to know about it, you can always talk to me one-on-one about that kind of stuff. Never a problem. But it's nice to see everybody. It's been a little while. Actually, I was off last week. I was covering for a doctor in the office, and this week I did not want to cancel, but I'm in Miami, so woe is me, right? Um, but I'm leaving today. I had 4 days down here. That's my win. I had 4 days down in Miami. I've never been here before, and it's a great city to visit for sure. If you ever get a chance to get down southeast United States, is a great place to be. So, any wins for you guys? Anything going on your ends? All right. Well, I'm going to keep it pretty light today. As far as agenda, I don't really have one. Just, as we talk about on our attraction calls, and I don't think Larry's going to be jumping on today. He said he had a flight that it was delayed, so he probably won't be jumping on this call. But one of the things that we always, focus on with our group particularly is the value that we try to bring to the agents in our group. And I think every group in EXP definitely has their own niche. I know that the Brent Coves and some of the other groups around EXP, they focus on something different than we do. Our focus has been around the REO space since we started doing this about a little over 2 years ago now. Hasn't really changed much, except we are trying to bring more value in lead generation. So we're trying some things out. Some things are going to stick, some things aren't. If you guys want to ever be involved with piloting things or helping out with maybe if you're bringing some team members on that maybe need something to do to build up their business a little bit. This would be something we could put them on some calls. We do want them to be successful, so and that applies to you guys as well. So if calling isn't your thing, or you want to just get into it, or maybe try it out, Robert Welcart is a pro on that. He's been doing it for better part of 20 years. He runs a workshop that is specific to the leads that we're generating through the Rink system. Again, we're getting some feedback, some good, some, these leads, could be better. But the point is, these are people that are raising their hands saying, they're wanting to sell their home. So we just have to sort of sift through the weeds a little bit to try to find out a little bit more about what that means to them. The REO asset management companies that we're working with still going good. We're, light in some areas, stronger in others. I don't know who was able to be on the call with Louis Amaya on Friday, but I watched the replay. I was able to upload it to my YouTube, put that in the newsletter. So if you didn't get a chance to watch it, I would definitely do it. It was probably one of the better um, calls that we've had in a while, because I haven't really met Louis. He's actually my organization, and we have a call this week set up to talk a little bit more about what his goals are with everything. And he basically they brought their brokerage over to EXP. They had a small brokerage of a dozen or so agents, and just didn't want to deal with that any longer. Kind of like our deal was with American Destiny. So this would be another potential thing that you could be talking to people about is people that don't want to have to be bothered with um, all the things that go along with running a brokerage, cutting E&O check, cutting earnest money, or holding earnest money deposits, cutting commission checks, having an E&O policy, having a brick and mortar space, a lot of things. And you guys, I mean, a lot of you have been business owners in the past. You know what it's like to run a brokerage. or when I got my broker's license in, what was it, 2020, I think it was, I thought maybe I would have a brokerage, and, Darren and I were, contemplating a franchise model where we were going to have, kind of like the way Carrington was doing it, which Carrington's actually starting to close down their states. They're closing down Colorado, they closed down Hawaii, I think they're closing down Nevada. So they're getting out of the franchise game. And I think it's good that Darren and I did not do that. I think we'd probably be in the same position where we'd be, regretting making that decision because of all the things that are tied up with that. But what we can do with this business model is basically run our business with very low capital, almost zero capital, quite honestly. I mean, unless we had a office space, which Darren actually does in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, so we could have an office space for agents. There's no reason for us to do that. It's just, it's just fine the way it's working out. For those agents that do need a physical location to go into, we have the Regus. I've been putting the Regus information into the newsletter the last couple of weeks. So if you guys don't have a Regus account, this would be your opportunity to have one. Full disclosure, I've had a Regus account since I started. It's on my phone. I've never actually used one. I was in Milan. I could have used the one there, but my internet was fine. I didn't really have to. But it's there for you guys, and it's there for any agents that maybe would be contemplating wanting an office. Maybe the house is noisy or whatever. They don't want to work out of the house. Um, so what have you guys been seeing? What have you guys been working on? What do you guys need help with? Any scripting, any thing that you guys want to go over today as far as, bringing some agents in the organization? I felt like I was doing too much talking, so open up to you guys.
Okay, I got something. I'm going to
Yeah.
be a little vulnerable. I was talking with Larry about recruiting, and he kind of gave me a little elevator pitch. And he said, talk about all the listings that you got last year. Um, and I'm like, I don't want to share that information because, like, right now it's slim pickings with Tricon in my area anyway. And it just feels weird. Like, I don't want to share that. Like, if we don't have that many preferred agents in my area. So if I feel like if that's going to be how I draw them here, that's going to take away from my business as well. Does that make
It
sense?
could, it could, but you want to look at big picture too. Maybe you need buyer's agents. Maybe you need agents that run open houses for you. Yeah, don't give away the keys to the kingdom, for sure. I mean, keep that to yourself as much as you possibly can. But it doesn't mean people couldn't be doing BPOs for you. You couldn't be mentoring somebody, bring them up through the ranks, maybe giving them properties. Maybe it's 2 hours away. You have no intention or want to go and do that particular inspection or whatever they're asking you to do, send an agent in your organization out to do that. Give them the opportunity to learn from you and to be mentored by you. I think that's one thing that's lost in society today is, back in the day, people were apprenticed. You just didn't go into carpentry. You just didn't go to become a blacksmith. You were apprenticed up through the ranks, and even doctors, for the most part, same thing, and they still do it with doctors. I mean, you have to spend about 2 years doing your clinical rotations before they actually will let you, work alone. And it's always a mentorship in medicine. Not so much in my field of chiropractic, but in the field of medicine, the older doctors are always teaching the new doctors, and new doctors are always learning, and then they become the older doctors. So it could be the same way with us in real estate, where you're building up that mentorship program underneath you. But yeah, don't give away the keys to the kingdom. Hold on to those REOs. If somebody's coming in under you, don't get them set up and bid on homes. Don't allow them to be a preferred agent, and that's up to you. Every time an agent comes into our organization, I ask people like I see from Mika's on the call and Katrina, Latanya, if they have a new agent coming in, we always ask, do you want this agent to have access? Do you want them to be REO? If the answer is no, then we respect that. We don't put them, into the REO program. We keep everything under them, and then as they get busier and they want those agents to do that, then that's fine. but you'll run those agents. You'll determine what access they have to you, and what access they have to the groups that you work with. So yeah, don't do that, but you can, certainly talk about, your success, the number of closings you've had, the success you've had, um, and how maybe they could become successful as well. And then the other thing, part of that is, what's great about EXP is that doesn't have to be regional. Most of the agents are probably near you. That we get that, but this doesn't have to be something where it's the only agents that are near you are the agents that you're attracting to you. So it could be pretty much, anybody across the country. And I saw Latonya had her hand up and then she didn't. So I don't know if you still had a question, Latonya.
Good day, everyone. Actually, I'll send you a text for my question, Eric.
Okay, yeah, just do that. That's
Thank
fine.
you.
So, Maggie, did that help? Did it kind of answer your question, or?
Yeah. And I
Okay.
think too, in your answer, it's like when you're bringing somebody on, it's like, I guess the question too is, are you building a team? Or, I mean, of course, they're going to be under you. So you're going to be, of course, going to want them to do well. But yeah, are you building a team? Because when you talk about doing inspections or BPOs or that kind of stuff, that seems like it would be somebody on a team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think more or less. And then there's four different types of team structures in EXP. You can do a domestic partnership team. You can have a self-organized team, which are the most popular. And then if you want to do like a mega icon team, this is where production comes in, and you have to have certain production marks that you've hit over the last year or so. And then team structures can be pretty much however you want them to look like, with some guide rails. I mean, but if you ever wanted to go down that road, I have a contact at EXP. You fill out a Google form, and they'll instruct you on exactly what you need to do and how that would look like for you. Darren and I have a team, but we don't really bring agents into the team. We created the team more for marketing and advertising. When we first started with EXP, we thought we'd do more with Facebook and that. That hasn't really brought us very much as far as people reaching out to us for more information. It's really been more organically with Darren talking to people at conferences, myself emailing people in our that we have in our database, and just having one-on-one conversations. But when we were new with EXP, really weren't sure how we wanted to run this, so we did develop or start a self-organized team. It's just Darren and I. We don't bring other agents onto that team. Even though a couple of agents thought that they needed to do that, but they didn't. We run more as a group, and the group structure for us is the fact that we have all of our agents who are part of the group. You guys all get a weekly newsletter. You're invited to our mastermind calls or daily huddles, and then within our group, we also have the Russell Realty Group, the Alliance Group, which is anybody under Joseph Limo, and we also have access to the Pathways Group, which is anybody under just Bob Mangold, who really hasn't been having that much going on right now. So it's really just the Alliance Group, Russell Realty Group, and what we do as a group each week. So when you're talking to people, talk to them about the group, the group of agents. Right now we have 13 people on this particular call. Some Larry's calls has as many as 80 people on those calls. It's good information. When Lewis was on last Friday, I think a lot of people were getting a lot out of that. And but Larry's really he's only gonna give the real nuggets to the people that are part of his organization. He's getting it out there. A lot of people on that call, a few people on that call were not part of our organization, but they're just there to listen. As far as, getting really involved and being on the preferred lists, that's where being part of our group is gets you that, not just being on the calls. So anyhow, anybody else have any other questions or anything else that's working for you all or not working for you all and wanted to work on?
Eric, I have a question.
You're good, Frank.
As REOs are starting to pick up, I created a list for my marketplace. How should I attract those REO agents who are just starting to get their business going? They were successful in the past and now they've got some REO business. How should I
Mhm.
attract them to the group? What would be the best way to go about that?
Well, I think Lewis really hit the nail on the head on Friday when he talked about this. It's making those contacts with the companies, with people like Pemco or Fay Servicing or ADR, Peak Harbor, MCM Capital. When you give people access to other people in those organizations and you bring them to events like Five Star and you take that agent around and you introduce them to five asset managers. I mean, where else would they get that? They could never go to Five Star and meet people like that. They could. I mean, they could meet people like that, but it's the chance of them having intimate conversations are much higher when you know people like Darren, Jim Steffens, or Louis Amaya, and you can make those direct, or Larry or Jeff Russell, or you can make those direct one-on-one connections, and then people appreciate that. And that's in our business, what we do in real estate. I think that's probably the most important thing that we can offer people is those connections because they're not going to get it anywhere else. And again, they can, but they're going to have to come through the school of hard knocks to get there. So whenever you're talking to people and you're trying to build that group around you, say in the Vegas area, and you know that REO isn't, there's not a lot of it. Maybe they did REO in the past, but REO in the past is like, it was like you could fall down you could fall in the street and stand up with an REO listing. I mean, it was just there was so much of that going on. It was such a loss as far as the industry. There's so much going on. So many people got into it at the time, and asset managers didn't really care because things were just they were flying off the shelves and getting handled. It's a really different. I think in my opinion, I think it's different today. There's not going to be that volume of REO, but I think that the price points are going to be higher. I think the opportunities are going to be more. I think the asset managers are going to be a little pickier on who they choose and who they use. And that's why every week I have a meeting with the asset management team, and I talk to them about using agents in our group, using our preferred agents, and you just have to continue to talk to them about that because they don't always remember, oh yeah, I like using such and such in Arizona. Oh yeah, I forgot we have a preferred agent. It's like you have to continue to remind them because they get familiar with who they use. And I'd say for the most part, they're pretty good about it. I'm not dealing with 50 asset managers. I'm dealing with about 3 that we work with and assign every week. And Darren's very involved with that too. So when you're talking to these people, I would say just make sure that they understand that being connected to you is probably the most valuable thing. I think that's the big thing is if they have that connection to you, you can help open up doors for them down the road. And I think that would really be helpful. Was that a good answer or?
No, that was
help?
fine. Thanks.
Okay.
Um, Going back to
Ben,
what
do you have something on your mind?
yeah, so you were talking about, having people join but not join the team. So I guess A, that's all about rev share. And then B, those folks, what's the like, cause my conversations with folks, come join me because I'm awesome. I give you this and this, just the spiel, right? Because the intent is to have them on my team. However, like our folks are in, just before this, I was talking to a lady in Mississippi. Now, I like to be available and talk to people. And Corey, he knows that because he's I see him looking at me right now. He's on my team. But at the end of it all, if she's in Mississippi for the training opportunities and so on and so forth versus not being on my team, like what does that look like? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's 3 different categories of an agent being connected to you. Actually 4. There's your direct sponsorship. So you sponsor Corey, he's your agent. He could be in Alaska, he can be in Atlanta. It doesn't matter. He's your sponsor. He's under you sponsorship wise. And then you have your team, and your team can be people that in your area who you've developed. Maybe you're going to flow them leads. You're going to do things you're going to have get together. You're going to do things as a group, but you're actually calling yourself a team, and that's more of a structured agreement. It's something you would have to. They invite them to your team. They have to accept that. You have to go to EXP and you have to say, hey, I have a self-organized team. here's what it looks like, and they approve it, and it doesn't have, it could be written down on a napkin. They don't care about the structure. They just have to make sure that it's recognized as a team, because then you have to follow guidelines for advertising. And like in Pennsylvania, I can only call myself the Eric Bengal team. Or, Darren and I, it's the Darren Cottrell, Eric Bengal team. We can't call ourselves the Great Agents team or the HIP team. It has to be our names. But every
Yeah.
state's different. Everybody has a different structure. Then you have co-sponsorship. Co-sponsorship is where you're not directly sponsoring a person, but they want access to you. So they will be under, say they're under Frank as the sponsor, but they're under you as this co-sponsor. That way they can have you access to you, they can have access to Frank, and everybody's winning. There's different, how that looks like is a little confusing, so I'm not going to go into that today. But if say you're talking to an agent and they're in, I don't know, California, and they're in Huntington Beach, and they're really close to Jeff Russell, and you think that, they would get a lot of benefit being connected to Jeff, that might be an opportunity where you sponsor them and Jeff would be co-sponsoring them. But in that scenario, that really wouldn't work because Jeff's actually in your organization. So Jeff benefits from that regardless. And the fourth way is just having a group that you create value for. Like we have the Cottrell Bengal group, and all we do, we're not registered, we're not recognized. It's just, that's what we call ourselves, but we don't advertise it on Facebook that way. When we advertise, we do it as a team just for real estate legalities. But you always see in the newsletter, it says the Cottrell Bengal Group, and then our affiliated groups, Russell Realty Group, Alliance Group. We're just trying to add value. We're just trying to push value to this organization. And the way that we do that is by making ourselves accessible. Myself, Larry, Jeff, Darren, you guys can always get in touch with us. Maybe not like pick up the phone and talk to us, but send me a text. We're talking within a half an hour or so. So those are the 4 different ways that you can sort of align somebody to you. And how you do it is, whatever that person needs is what you deliver. So if they need access to a brokerage team in a different state, try to get them aligned there. If that's not doable, you figure out something else. But my caveat to all that, and I'll get to your question in a second, Angela. My caveat to all that is, don't try to think it through on your own. Talk to Larry about it, because Larry has been thinking about this for a really long time, and he's worked out pretty much all the details and how it would work best for people. Maybe it's not always going to be perfect, and maybe, it wasn't the best scenario, but at least he'll have thought it through and tried to bring the best for that agent and for you. It's always going to be what's best for that agent and you, and then go from there. So did answer your question, Ben?
Yeah, punt to Larry.
Okay, good. What's that?
Yes, punt to Larry.
Talk to Larry. Yeah, Larry, I hate to always defer to Larry, but he definitely puts more time into this. Plus, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Larry, once a month, Larry, Leo Parajwa, Russ Lagon, sometimes Glenn Sanford, you guys should know who these people are, because they're like the top of EXP, get together in Dallas and brainstorm. And Larry's part of that. And he goes every month because Larry's only 4 hours away from Dallas. I don't know why they picked Dallas, but that's where they go. So he's very intimate in these conversations. He's actually instrumental in making some of these decisions getting made. So that's why I say talk to Larry, because he's been doing this for 7 years and he knows his stuff. So Angela, do you have a question?
No, actually, I have information to share. So
Cool.
there is another way that you can team with a person, and that is per transaction. You can decide which transactions you want to team up with somebody on. And there's just that form you need to fill out and turn into EXP, the co-brokerage listing agreement or the co-brokerage agreement form that you can find in your EXP forms. So that way, if you're not wanting, say, Maggie, to have someone on every one of your transactions that you got the business for, you can just team up on them, like on some certain things. So you don't have to be a team all the time. You can just decide per transaction what you want to do.
How is that different from just doing like a referral fee?
Well, I mean, can structure it any way you want it to be as far as the percentages go and who does which part of the work. The form actually has on there, like who's putting up the sign, the lockbox, who's doing the marketing, who's showing the property. You know, I mean, you divvy it up, you know, according to who's doing how much of what work, right? So, I mean, and it's so flexible to use that form. So, I mean, because I work with my son down in Florida, and then I'm on my own in Washington. And so my son and I haven't made a formal team. We just use that form on the transactions we've done together. But I have another agent that I signed in Tampa, Florida. And, you know, she wanted my help on a transaction. And so I can do that with her. You know, we agreed to a certain percentage of that listing and we're using that, but I don't want to be on team with her, you know, her necessarily all the time, you know, because she might want to, you know, once she gets, you know, going along, then she'll be, you know, she might want to just do her own thing. So, I mean, I think it's kind of flexible to do it that way. And it's just one little form to fill out per transaction. It's pretty easy.
Okay,
Yeah, and
thanks.
yeah, I think what we'll end on today is the fact that I think one really important thing, and Angela, thanks for bringing that up because this is the point I want to make with all this is the more you're educated, the more that you know about how our brokerage works, the more effective you can be. I have one agent who's, you know, he came on to do some work with us, but I don't know that he's really learned the brokerage, and that's going to make it difficult. So the more you know how the brokerage works, I think it just makes it that much better for you to be able to introduce people to the organization. But with that being said, never feel like you have to do it alone. The power of three-way validation is super important. And this is where, you know, you bring Larry in, bring myself in, bring your sponsor in. If myself or Larry isn't your sponsor, and allow it to be a three-way conversation. It's almost like the child and the parent scenario. Your child never listens to you until um, you know, the neighbor or the coach says, "Hey, do it this way." And it's like, "Oh, hey, well, yeah, I never thought of it that way." Meanwhile, you've been telling them like that for like the last year because they need that third party validation. They hear it from you all the time, but when they hear it from somebody else, it's like it's new and it's different. So that person is an opinion leader to some degree with them. But yeah, I think we'll just end off is, you know, try to learn the brokerage model as much as you can. And the way I've learned it is by being on calls, especially the daily huddle calls with Jeff and Kelly. For me, those are invaluable. Plus, they're easy. They're only half an hour, and I can hit most of them during the week. I can really only not make Wednesdays and Fridays. So I'm actually be jumping on that call here after this one. But if you guys have any other questions, I did record this. I'll put the recording in next week's newsletter. And then if you have any other questions, just text me or send me an email and we can do another. I'm pretty available most of today and all day tomorrow. So you guys have a good rest of the day. And if you can make the 11 o'clock Eastern time call, hope to see you there. So talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, Eric.
You're welcome.